Live from the broadcast center in Los Angeles, this is KCAL9 News at 8.
All new tonight, 8 o'clock, a body found in a shallow grave in Northern California may be the 25-year-old actress who's been missing for over a month from Hollywood.
A sense of urgency over the 2020 census. Why California's fighting a proposed change that could cost the state millions and seats in Congress.
It looks like a stunt from a movie, but this scene is very real. And the trooper flying through the air is telling us tonight about that terrifying ordeal.
But we begin tonight with breaking news in the city of Industry. A pursuit just ended with a car crashing into a bus. Whittier police were chasing the driver when she slammed into a commuter bus at Workman Mill and Valley. Now,
police tell us they arrested the driver on the scene and then found two children in that car, a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old. From Sky 9, we could see officers holding both of them, and they do appear to be okay. The mother was wanted for allegedly kidnapping the children. We do not have any word of any injuries to the people on the bus. We'll continue to follow the story here on KCAL9. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jeff Vaughn.
And I'm Elsa Ramon. A deadly discovery in Northern California could mean tragic news for the family of a missing actress and model. Detectives
say they have found a body buried in a shallow grave. Appears to be the young actress from Macedonia who has been living in Hollywood. KCAL9's Adrianna Weingold has more details on the case tonight.
Adea Shabani has been missing for 32 days. Now the LAPD says they have made a gruesome discovery, a body discovered in a shallow grave in Northern California they believe to be Adea Shabani. After weeks of searching, combing the neighborhood and posting flyers around Hollywood, LAPD says human remains believed to be Adea Shabani, an aspiring actress and model missing since late February, have been found.
At this point in time, we believe that those remains are the body of Miss Adea Shabani.
The remains were found in a shallow grave in Northern California. Last Thursday night, a Studio City man, Christopher Spots, believed to be Shabani's boyfriend, shot himself during a police chase from Hesperia to Corona. Police say Spots and Shabani left Hollywood together and headed north for a getaway. This is the last photo of the two together in an elevator carrying luggage.
We also believe that Mr. Spots, Christopher Spots, was somehow involved in her death, and we believe this to be a homicide.
Shabani moved to Los Angeles from Macedonia 2 years ago to chase her dream of stardom. She and Spots attended Stella Adler Acting Academy together. Shabani was last seen near her apartment on Wilcox in Hollywood, leaving with Spots around 1 in the afternoon back in February. Investigators say Spots' father lives in Northern California, and that's what led them to the area. They question him about where his son could be. Back in Hollywood, neighbors were left shaking their heads.
I couldn't believe that someone who comes here to, someone just like me, you can identify with this person so much. Someone who came here to chase her dream all the way from Europe alone, like suddenly goes missing in the middle of the day. That's crazy.
An exact cause of death has not yet been released, but an autopsy is planned for tomorrow. In downtown, Adrianna Weingold, KCAL9 News.
Now to a developing story in La Mirada. Deputies there have arrested a Biola University student who they say had an AR-15 rifle and a handgun in his dorm room.
22-year-old senior Jason Roberts is under arrest. The weapons were not legally registered. There is no threat to the campus tonight.
Well, late tonight, Uber is not renewing its permit to test self-driving vehicles in California. This comes after Arizona's governor yanked its privileges after an autonomous SUV struck and killed someone last week. California's DMV told Uber executives that they would lose their testing privileges after Saturday. The company also suspended tests in San Francisco, Pittsburgh, and Toronto. A self-driving car in San Francisco was pulled over by police after it failed to stop for a person in a crosswalk. A viewer sent us this photo to CBS San Francisco. It shows that cruise car getting a ticket. The car was in self-driving or autonomous mode when it failed to stop for that pedestrian. Luckily, that person was not hit. Cruise is a San Francisco-based company that operates a fleet of self-driving cars in that city.
Louisiana's Attorney General announced no charges against 2 white officers in the high-profile shooting death of a black man. There was outrage after video showed the officers struggle and shoot Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge outside a convenience store in 2016. State investigators say the officers were justified because Sterling had a gun in his pocket. Sterling's family says their fight is not over.
Yes, the system has failed us. Yes, we are disappointed. But as a family, we're going to stay strong, and we're going to keep each other prayed up. The devil thought he won, but he didn't.
The police department still plans on holding disciplinary hearings for the officers. It also plans to release dash cam and security camera video.
California State Attorney General says he will investigate the deadly police shooting of an unarmed black man in his grandmother's backyard.
My team and I at the California Department of Justice will do everything in our power to ensure that this investigation is fair, thorough, and impartial.
Show me your hands! Gun!
And now to body cam video of that deadly shooting. 22-year-old Stephon Clark was killed last week by 2 Sacramento police officers. They say he had a gun. Clark was actually just holding a cell phone. Yesterday, Clark's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city, and the officers involved are on leave while the case is being investigated.
A man who shot a couple during an attempted carjacking is one of the LA County Sheriff's Department's most wanted. Tonight, what happened in a remote part of the Angeles National Forest amazed at least one witness. Here's KCAL9's Jeff Nguyen.
The shooting happened in the Angeles National Forest, where there is very little cell phone reception, and because of that, one of the victims drove down the hill to this intersection in order to get help.
I saw a car go up. I heard like 6 gunshots go bam, bam. I was tripping out.
This man who asked us not to show his face says he was on Highway 39 in the Angeles National Forest late last night when a young couple was shot inside this Nissan.
And the girl was shot in her chest like two or three times. That's what it looked like. But the guy, he had a gunshot in his head, like the side of the head. I don't know how he was breathing, to be honest.
The LA County Sheriff's Department says a 19-year-old woman and a 20-year-old man were parked near mile marker 23, where broken glass could be found. Detectives believe a man in his 20s wearing a hooded sweatshirt walked up and demanded the couple to get out of the car.
When the victims refused, he produced a handgun and fired into the car.
Detectives are calling this a carjacking, and they say the couple was parked at a spot that's known for its view.
They were up there just spending some good time together, and this unfortunate event occurred.
A few other cars were nearby, but investigators say no one got a good look at the shooter. One person who tried to help followed the victims down the hill to Azusa, where deputies were waiting for them after they called 911.
I don't know how she was driving. She was also shot.
We're told the female victim is in stable condition, while her boyfriend is in critical but stable condition. Detectives are trying to figure out if a gray 4-door car had a part in the shooter's getaway. In Azusa, Jeff Nguyen, KCAL9 News.
A crook in a luxury car appears to target people away at funerals. His last attempt was a house in Van Nuys. Take a look at the video. It shows the man walking up and then knocking on the front door of a house on Nagel. When no one answered, he then walked to the back and tried to open up a rear door. He eventually, we're told, kicked in the garage door, and then that set off an alarm. He took off in a white 4-door Mercedes with tinted windows, seen there in chrome rims. Police say the same man broke into a house in West LA March 7th. That victim also at a funeral.
Dozens of guns are missing from a vault at Compton City Hall. The feds say 31 Beretta and Glock 40 caliber pistols are gone, stolen between March 6th and August 31st of last year. Those missing guns belong to the now defunct Compton Police Department. The ATF is offering a $10,000 reward. Call them if you know anything about the guns or who took them.
People right now lining up to be LA's next police officer, next top cop, if you will. Current Chief Charlie Beck will retire this summer. 31 have applied to replace him. Mayor Garcetti will make that final decision. A new chief should be announced in the next few months.
In Orange County, the county's Board of Supervisors just voted to join U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions' lawsuit against California's sanctuary law. Under that law, local authorities are not allowed to cooperate with federal agents in the deportation of undocumented immigrants.
Federal government wants to add the following question to the 2020 census: are you a U.S. citizen? And it sparked several states, including California, to sue the Trump administration. KCAL9's Lisa Siegel explains why.
Just 5 hours after the Commerce Department added the question, California filed suit. Officials say they will fight this all the way. California Attorney General Javier Becerra filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration. This after the Commerce Department announced last night the 2020 census will include a new question: are you a citizen?
They failed to consider the consequences of scaring people into not filling out the census forms.
The census is meant to count total population, not just U.S. citizens. It can affect everything from federal funding to the makeup of congressional districts. Secretary of State Alex Padilla says California stands to lose a lot if the question is part of the survey.
California counts on immigrants. And in the 2020 census, we will make sure immigrants are counted, not intimidated.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders says the data is needed specifically for the Department of Justice to better comply with the Voting Rights Act. Ira Melman with the Federation for American Immigration Reform says it makes sense.
This has nothing to do with frightening people. It is legitimate information that government at all levels, the federal government and state and local governments need.
But the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights disagrees.
This is another form of intimidation, and our concern is obviously that the immigrant population will, one, not partake in this, but also have more fear instilled in them.
Becerra and Padilla say the state is ready for a fight. They say everyone has the right to be counted and feel safe.
In California, everyone should count.
The White House says the Commerce Department made the decision, but they fully support it. New York and 10 other states are filing a separate lawsuit as well. Back to you in the studio.
Nonstop from LAX to Buenos Aires. Today, American Airlines announced that it's offering that flight, making it the first and only carrier at LAX. Offer a direct route to that Argentine city. Flights between LAX and Buenos Aires will then be available for purchase beginning Monday, with service starting December 19th. Airline will operate that route, we're told, 3 times a week.
The Hollywood spot where people from around the world stand in line to buy hot dogs is now known as Pink's Square. Today, the LA City Council approved the name change for the intersection at the corner of La Brea and Melrose Avenues. Since it opened in 1947, the Pink's hot dog stand has been a Hollywood hotspot. The owners have created over 35 combinations of hot dogs and a dozen kinds of burgers.
I think that's the shortest line I've ever seen there.
Yeah,
Just
right,
about
really.
A dozen people. Every time I go by, it's always around the corner.
Yeah, if there's only 12 people in line, you're lucky. Yeah, that's what it usually looks like right there.
Well, the homeless debate in Orange County is heating up tonight. We'll have that ahead.
And this is really hard to look at. A trooper tells us how he survived this wild crash. Evelyn.
And we're getting a look outside right now. You will see clear conditions. Still a bit breezy. We're going to have your forecast for the rest of the week ahead.
And Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg under pressure tonight. Will he go before Congress?
Plus, one-stop shopping at Walmart. You won't believe what the retailer is selling now.